you execute the roller coaster, right? Which is what a screenplay should be. It should take you from highs to lows, to highs to lows, to highs to lows, to ecstasy, right?
Welcome to Third and Fairfax, the official podcast of the Writers Guild of America West. I'm your host, Brian Gary. In our latest episode, Hilliard Guess sits down with Boots creator and co-showrunner Andy Parker about writing the hit Netflix limited series that explores the coming-of-age story of a young gay Marine in an era before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They discuss how personal experience informed Andy's approach to the material, LGBTQ plus representation on screen, and much more. Listen and subscribe to Third and Fairfax on Spotify, Apple, or Libsyn, and watch us on the Writers Guild of America West's YouTube channel. And now, here's Hilliard in conversation with Andy.
So today, we got my man in the building, killing the game right now. One of my favorite shows out right now.
Oh, really?
I don't say that all the time.
Well, thank you.
Believe me, it is so good. Just like on every level. Andy Parker, co-showrunner, creator, executive producer of the new show on Netflix, everybody. Boots, super excited about them. Super excited.
So good to be here. Thank you.
Man, yeah. Thank you. So thank you for coming to the show. So sometimes I like to do something a little bit different. So we were talking offline about, I was telling my husband is in Scottsdale right now, which is where his family's from. My family moved about 8 years ago to Florence. Like way at Santana.
Yeah.
Way
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so he told me to tell you that he grew up, because you said you grew up in Glendale, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He said he's on, this is just funny stuff for us. He grew up at 35th Avenue and Northern.
Oh, yeah. I know where that is.
Like
yeah. Of course. Yeah. That's great. Wow.
That was funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. How did you guys meet?
I met him at the gym.
Great.
Yeah. I was in dance class.
Arizona connection.
And he was on the treadmill. I was like, who is that with those legs?
Yeah. I get it.
24 years on Sunday.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's go back a little bit. Tell everybody about growing up in Glendale. What was that like for you? I'm sorry. Yeah, in Glendale.
Yeah, in Glendale. So, I grew up in a very, I would say, conservative, evangelical home, pretty devout, church every Sunday. Yeah. And it was certainly like a loving home. And I'm in many ways grateful for the kind of upbringing that I had. I think, though, as I knew from a pretty early age that I was gay, and so that put me in tension with the community and the family that I was being raised in, and so that leaves you with for like a lot of gay kids. I think that leaves you with a predicament that you have to somehow resolve, and for me, it took a long time. I think because of that, being steeped in that, and being I think internalizing this idea that there was something wrong with me, or that there was something to be ashamed of, or that being gay was something that I needed to run away from. It took me a long time to come out, and part of that journey of coming out was trying to find ways, I think, to escape the truth about myself. And one of those ways, actually, when I was in high school, is that I briefly flirted with joining the military, the Marines in particular. Yeah, I sought out recruiters. I took the ASVAB, which is the test you have to take to join the military. I was ready to go. Like, I invited a Marine recruiter over to my house to talk with my parents. And I still remember.
No wonder this all feels so familiar.
Yeah, I still remember that crisp uniform. Like, he looked like the guy in the poster. Like, he made a good case.
Still has a crush.
He made a good case. But I ended up not pursuing that, I think, because there was some deeper part of me that knew that I was running from myself. I was denying something. I was trying to prove something. So I ended up going to college and then ultimately film school in New York, which is where I ended
Did you
up.
always know you wanted to write? Or where did that come from?
I think, no. I wanted to be an architect for a long time, but I was always that kid that was just like telling stories and coming up with daydreaming and all that stuff. So in undergrad is when I switched my focus to storytelling. I realized somewhere through
Where'd you go?
I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson.
Oh, you did? Yeah,
Go
my husband did
Wildcats.
too,
Yeah. And I realized that a narrative was missing, but that I was still obsessed with structure from my architecture interest, and that's I think what led me to film and television.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great story. What I'm fascinated by, So I'm in Phoenix probably every 3 months.
Okay.
Now, usually Scottsdale. Then we drive an hour down to Florence, whatever it is, see my parents. And I'm always fascinated because it feels like such a military place. Like, at least in our world, like his brother was a ranger and, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like my father was in the military. So it's like everybody around that area that I see, it seems like the whole culture is military for the most part.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like every third person I meet, they are, their uncle is, their father is, like somebody was or is in the military.
You know what? I didn't have any of those kinds of personal connections. Okay. Like nobody in my family was in the military. There were, I think, Luke Air Force Base is not far from where I grew up. There were certainly people in the Air Force who attended our church, and they always carried themselves with this sort of confidence and a sort of dignity that I always really looked up to and admired, especially as somebody trying to find himself, to try to have an inner confidence that I didn't fully possess myself at the time. So I think all of those things were attractive, and I think those were things that I could later use in adapting Greg Cope-White's book, The Pink Marine. Like I definitely drew on those experiences myself, looking for ways to give yourself a sense of dignity, I think, more than anything.
So when did you come to LA, and how did you break in? What happened?
So I went to film school at Columbia, and this was in, I think I got to Columbia around 2006, and back then
1846.
Everybody back then wanted to be P.T. Anderson. That's why you went to Columbia, and nobody was interested in TV. My classmates, but for me, I looked around and all my favorite writing was on television, and so I pretty quickly, while I was in film school, switched my interest and focus to television. So when I got out to LA, I had a pilot that I had written, and I got very lucky. I sold it. One of the first things that I ever.
My 10%?
It was, looking back now, it is so crazy. Now that I know how this business works and I've been around longer, just how lucky it was to get that kind of break so early. And not only did I sell that, we actually made a pilot, which is crazy.
Wow.
It never made it to air, but I got to go through that process, and that was, I mean, being thrown in the deep end, and really, and just an exceptional education right away.
That's amazing. And that was the first pilot you wrote?
Not the first pilot I wrote, but it was one of the first things I ever took out with.
Okay, got you. Did you start off doing specs and stuff first before you wrote pilots? The reason I'm asking is one of the things I notice, and I've talked to so many, like I'm on so many different committees here at the Writers Guild, but I've talked to so many other writers on the LGBT committee about this particular show, and everybody's talking about the writing, how good the writing is, how much you nailed this, how much the characters pop off the page, everybody.
Thank you.
So some of that, when I watch a show, I see you a lot in it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
But now I understand even the whole thing of you attempting to join the Marines. All that, I feel like when that lived experience is just like right in there, part of your imagination. You have the book, you have all the other things, you have the advisors, but I feel like there's a lot of you just going, excuse my phrase, y'all, bitch, this is what it was. You know what I'm saying?
I really appreciate you saying that. I think that's really true. I think that's why one of the things I've been reflecting on in the last couple of weeks as the show has come out, and it's been astonishingly well received,
Crazy.
Way more than I anticipated. I always had faith that the show would find an audience ultimately, but it's not based on huge IP. We don't have giant stars, so I knew it was going to have to be something that would be discovered by people, and I just thought that process would take a while. I didn't anticipate that in our second week we'd be the number 2 show on Netflix. And I have to tell you, like, there is a lot of my sensibility and my worldview in this show, so it feels very surreal to me and wonderful to feel in some way validated. Like there's a sense of solidarity I feel with people in general that I don't carry in my everyday life, that just because people are responding to the show in a certain way, it feels incredible.
That's dope. So how did the project come to you?
So I had developed with some folks who ended up in a division at Sony, and they were looking for somebody to adapt this memoir called The Pink Marine by Greg Cope White, which is a beautiful book.
Shout out to Greg, because it's amazing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Beautiful book. And it had been optioned by Rachel Davidson and Norman Lear's company, and they had brought that to Sony. So Sony brought the book to me, and I read it and I instantly connected to it. I think for all the reasons that I was just talking about. I think I end up gravitating, I think because of my life story, the kind of stories that I'm interested in telling end up being about people becoming themselves.
Okay.
That process of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And here was like dramatic gold,
Right.
Because you're always looking for stakes, right?
Sure.
What are the stakes of the story? Like, why is this important? Why does this have a sense of urgency? And here is boot camp, which is automatically a place designed to change you. That's what it's here for. It's a machine.
Brilliant.
So that gave you the automatic stakes and a certain kind of structure, I think, to tell the story, because there's a certain way you have to go through boot camp. There's a certain pattern to that training.
Right.
And I was so struck by what Greg talks about in the book about being this sort of aimless, closeted kid who had a relationship, who had this straight best friend, and they had this beautiful platonic brother relationship.
There's no I like him.
There's
I still
no
want
like
him.
pining, like
Exactly.
none of that.
Stop it, y'all. It's a trope.
Yeah,
Stop
it. And really with an incredible sense of naivete, he tags along out of loyalty and friendship, and because he doesn't really have anything going on himself. And in the process, what he encounters, even though it's pre-Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and so it's illegal to be gay in the military, and so he has to sequester and hide this essential part of himself, to deny part of himself. But he makes this bargain with the Marine Corps that he's going to do that, and in exchange, he goes through this process where the Marine Corps gives him the things that he was looking for, which was honor and dignity and courage and, a sense of self. And that then in talking with Greg, which some of this is in the memoir, and some of this is just because of my friendship with Greg and getting to know him better, realizing that the sort of arc of that story was a real bittersweet irony, that it was the things he learned in the Marine Corps that then gave him the confidence to turn back to the Marine Corps and say, I can no longer be part of this because you don't accept me. That is an incredible arc, I think, and a really beautiful
It's almost like you spoke
journey.
through Sullivan a little bit with that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So the addition of Sullivan was a huge part of the expansion of the show beyond the memoir. And so the memoir was this incredible jumping off point and inspiration. But one of the first conversations I had with Greg was to say, I can't make a story about your life. Like, I need the freedom to take a character on his own journey. So there's going to be many elements that we'll draw from the book and from your life. But Cameron, who is the fictionalized version that I created, needed to go on his own journey, and we had to have the freedom to shape that organically, and then to build an ensemble around Cameron that he would encounter. Because one of the really important aspects of the show is that it is an ensemble. We come into this world through our fish out of water. He is this gay character, and it's really important that there's this queer sensibility at the heart of the show.
It's definitely his point of view, but
Yes.
everything expands around it, for sure.
And as the season goes on, we widen that aperture a little more to be able to get deeper into other people. And many other shows have done that brilliantly, and we certainly learned from the success of other ensemble shows. So I think the making sure that what we were planning in the scope of the show was not just the story of one gay kid going to join the military, but how does his story of transformation echo these other young men's story of coming of age and transformation? Because it was important to show the universality of that. Yes, the stakes for the gay kid were the highest, right? Like,
Huge.
It was clear.
Yeah.
It's just illegal for him to be there, so that's a big deal. But every other young man that he encounters there, every other recruit had to have their own struggle, their own thing that they were running away from or ashamed of or afraid
Secrets.
of. Secrets,
Mhm.
something to confront.
Yes.
So in the pilot, you know, we have Cameron's inner self, and we can talk about where
Oh, we
that came
definitely
from.
gonna talk
But
about that, for sure.
he says to Cameron, "You think you're the only one who's hiding something,"
Mhm.
and that becomes a thing to explore in the rest of the show. That there is a universal coming of age here for each of these guys.
What's brilliant to me is it seems like Greg really allowed you to just go. So there clearly was some trust there where he allowed you to. I mean, you still feel the book, but yet you know you went off and took it. And it feels like today, even though it's 1990, you know, which is hard to do.
Yep.
But I'm always telling writers, it's like the only way you're going to execute, you know, is to make it feel now.
Yeah.
You know, even though, because I do a lot of historical stuff, so even though you're doing that, you're still the viewer feels like they relate,
Exactly.
you know, to whatever it is.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love the most about what you do, what you've done with this particular project, talking about the type of things you write. You know, I write underdog stories, you know what I mean? It's usually dealing with somebody weak becoming strong, somebody strong going weak, like different things. So that's when I watch those hero moments happen, you know, and I'm jumping just a little bit. When we got to the finale, I was bawling. I mean, like every other scene, like there was something, because you knew it was all coming to a climax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What moved you? I'm curious.
Oh my God. It's number one, he finally stood up. Yeah, I see you gonna get me to cry right now. Like it's like right there. Especially the moment he had with Sullivan, where basically he's like, go with God, you're okay. You know what I mean? You can do this thing. And then when he I hope I'm not spoiling it. Well, who knows when this comes out? But when he was with the I don't know, the captain, I forget what they call him.
Yeah, Captain Fajardo.
And he takes the walkie. And he gets off the truck and he runs. And everybody, I was just like, and like it's just
because he's embraced and accepted, and that is his journey, is one of going from being the outsider, being the other, to being literally embraced by this group, by these brothers. And it was important though that there was still this tinge, even in that victory, even in that triumph, that by the end of the season, we understood that there was still going to be a cost. And there was still going to be, what I wanted, my intention was for people to watch this, feel that sense of triumph with Cameron, because we've gone on this journey with him. He's struggled, he's earned it, he's done so well, and found a strength he didn't know he had. And yet, because we've also watched the story of Sullivan, this cautionary tale, I want us to have this lump in our throat for Cameron and concern, like, good for you for becoming a Marine, great job. Is that good for your soul?
You are definitely in that isn't at the top of your mind, you know, because he just went through it with Sullivan, which was this same thing, like, am I going to turn out to be him? Because to be honest, I know we're jumping just a little bit, I actually thought at the end they were going to be like, you're the new Sullivan type of thing. And I was like, oh, the hell, like, how do we keep it in the boot thing? I'm trying to set up a season 2. But you know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Let's jump to, how long did it take you to develop the show? What was it like pitching it? And the script, because everybody, we're here for the Writers Guild.
Sure. It's been a long process. The book came to me in 2020. I know. Yeah. And so I think we took out the pitch. So first, once I pitched my take to Sony and to Norman Lear, which
he called him Norman Lear, like that's his cousin or something. You see that?
I mean, when the book came to me, I did not know Norman was attached.
Oh, okay. Right.
So it was a true. It was incredibly intimidating to know that he was the godfather of this project, and that he was.
And it was his last project.
It turned out to be. We didn't, of course, know that at the time, but that is true. So to have the challenge of living up to that legacy is a big deal.
You did your thing, bro.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things I first pitched to Sony, which I said, this will probably be controversial, and I don't know if this will be a device that you guys would go for, or that a network buyer would be interested in. But for me, it's essential is to, if there's going to be a closeted kid who has to hide himself in boot camp, then the part of himself he's having to hide, we have to personify. We have to see that part. So inner Cameron, which I called him, has to be a character with his own point of view, with his own will, and that's going to be a dynamic and an arc in their relationship as the season goes on.
It's let me interrupt just a little bit. It's a very important gimmick in the show. I talk about this a lot with a lot of writers all the time, because sometimes they have these gimmicks pop up for no reason. Like it's got to be part of the story. It's got to be driving the story forward. It's got to have whatever. Because when you first started, I was like, where are we going? And eventually I was like, got it. The reason was there's no, here's the rules in this world. You know what I mean? You have to just go and trust the writer that, believe me, you're going to understand this in a minute. And that's kind of what happened for me. I was like, got it. I'm with you. Nobody can see them.
Right.
Matter of fact, he's in his head.
Right.
He's just moving because. Whatever it is, right? That's what I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and so all of those kind of rules you're talking about, that took a lot of calibrating.
Sure.
How much are we going to see Inner Cameron? Right. In my original draft, he popped up a lot more.
Really?
Oh yeah, he was constantly chiming in. And
well, he's so funny though. So,
it was too much though. It was too much of a Jack in the Box effect, right? Where he was just interjecting continually, and so it was important to figure out Inner Cameron's function, and one of the great things about having a writer's room is you get to kick the tires on all these things with really smart people, and what we figured out together was that Inner Cameron was the truth teller. Like ultimately that's what he is. So he's not the naysayer. He's not because a lot of us have an inner voice that is very negative.
Right.
And Inner Cameron is not that exclusively. He's just the one who tells you the real truth. Because I do feel like, is my personal philosophy, but I do feel like every single one of us, deep, deep, deep down, and for some of us it's more buried than others, but there is this voice of truth that knows the truth, that can speak to us clearly. And once we established that, then it became like, okay, we have to make sure that every time Inner Cameron comes up, it's not like we're having to take our medicine and we're biding our time until Inner Cameron leaves. But he becomes this like essential voice of conscience for him.
It's brilliant. I mean, in my opinion, and having been an actor back in the day, I just keep imagining how much he had to go back and forth. And then I started doing things like, I'm like, okay, is he, because if his face is puffy, for example, is the inner voice face puffy?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, are they different? Are they whatever? Is he always the same? But he's in the outfit as well.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, was clearly talking to the thing in the moment.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you guys really, I think, worked that out perfectly. And I personally think he popped up in the right times.
Okay.
I never was like,
thank
okay, you guys are overusing. I didn't personally.
Yeah.
I was more excited because there's so many, we'll get into this in a moment. You execute the roller coaster, right? Which is what a screenplay should be. It should take you from highs to lows, to highs to lows, to highs to lows, to ecstasy, right? And I feel like whenever Inner Cameron came in, Inner Cameron was like, it's still funny, right? You know what I mean? So you might have just seen the monologues. You should be getting some Emmys for the monologues alone. They kill every character, and I say this a lot. I was telling my husband the other day, I said, every character has a moment.
Yeah.
Actually, many moments, usually.
That was important to make sure everybody got their...
Every single one has a big monologue somewhere. They have a big plot that's focused on them, whether it's a B or C story or whatever. They all have something that when actors read their image, I want to play that. You know what I mean? That's what you're supposed to be doing. You see, I'm excited about it. Nailed it. I mean, it's just like check, check, for sure.
That's so kind. Thank you. That was really important to make sure that all of these other recruits in boot camp weren't just there to be decoration in the squad bay. They were here to have their own change.
Right.
And we needed to... So much of what the show is about taking off the mask, right? They all show up with fronting, really, and so do our DI, so do our drill instructors, and we get to watch them take off the mask. One of the things that's been interesting in reading reactions about the show is, for the most part, I really feel like people have got it and they've got our intention. But every so often you read a review or a comment that I think misinterprets the show in thinking that the show is saying that brutality is what changes you into a better person, and I actually think that's sort of contrary to the whole message of the show.
Could it be because kill was so used?
Yeah, it's like, and these are very these are extreme training tactics. But I think what the show is doing is saying that actually the moments of real change happen when somebody steps around outside of that doctrine, when they take off the mask, when they talk to each other as people and not these roles. That's important to me. That the show was going to be about, in the midst of this hazing or brutality or just very difficult circumstance, it was the moments of grace that we're peeking through.
So you pitched the show. What was the timeline for the script? Because you said you had written a version that had, the inner Cameron in a lot.
Yeah.
So then you had to pull back and I'm assuming write another, probably a whole nother.
Well, it's been so long now, so I'm trying. So we pitched the show in 2021. We set it up at Netflix. And they committed to a writer's room, which was incredible. And part of the change in Inner Cameron happened organically over the time that we were in the writer's room, to be honest with you. So we kind of discovered through our process and our dialogue with the network, like what they were,
the balance of it.
The balance, because that it's a conceit that I think felt risky to them. So we had to make sure that everybody was comfortable with it and at the same time preserve its efficacy and poignance. But so we had a 24-week writer's room. We had 7 writers in the room, 3 Marines in the room, which was great.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so it feels accurate to me. Some other Marine member go, we didn't do that. But to me, I was like, boy, they freaking were on point about the details.
We really tried. It was really important to me to be as accurate as possible, to respect the experience of people who've been through Parris Island. It's a very difficult thing to do, and we needed to honor that accomplishment. Of course, we had to take our liberties. We had to tell a story. But I always asked the Marines to tell me how it would have really gone, and then it was up to me to decide how are we going to deviate from what the reality would be. I asked Greg to be in the writer's room, which is an unusual thing. Rare. It's an unusual thing to have,
because they're usually very married to what they do. Interesting.
Exactly, and it's usually, for the person adapting, it's usually uncomfortable to have the person who wrote the IP be part of the process, but. Greg's such a great guy and a great writer that, and I wanted his experience as a Marine also. And it was interesting. We had all 3 Marines had very different kinds of experience. We had a female officer. We had another enlisted guy who was much younger than Greg, and then of course Greg, he started his service in 1979. So we had this incredible range of experience. And then when we got to set, we had 3 other Marine military advisors, to make sure that they were working with our cast on everything.
Well, let's jump to the cast. How did you, find these cats? Who was first?
Oh wow, that's a great question.
Well, I asked you a question.
Yeah, I honestly don't. Who was first? That's a great question.
The reason I thought I heard, why am I forgetting Sullivan's real name?
Max Parker.
Max.
Yeah.
I thought I heard him say, well, they cast me first.
He was cast before Miles was.
Okay, before Miles.
Definitely before Miles. I'm not sure if he was exactly the first person we ever cast, but just a shout out to Junie Johnson and Libby Goldstein, our casting directors, who were just incredible, and they put this ensemble together. I mean, discovering Max was a big deal. It was very important to me that we have 3 queer characters in the show, all of whom are played by out queer actors.
All of them are.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that was important. And I thought it would be reasonably easy to find Cameron and have a gay actor be playing Cameron. I knew it was going to be a little more of a challenge to find Sergeant Sullivan, honestly.
Completely.
But then,
especially somebody that can embody that strength.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
No, you nailed it
to pull this off. So I'm so excited that the world is finally seeing what Max Parker can do. He's so brilliant. His range is incredible. You're scared of him, right. And your heart's breaking for him at the same time. He manages to pull off this alchemy that's really incredible. And then it took a long time to find Cameron, actually, to find Miles Heiser. He initially self-taped in the initial round, and for whatever reason, it didn't grab us. But Junie and Libby had always been fans of Miles Heiser, and they've loved him since Parenthood and what he did on 13 Reasons Why.
By the way, this is what I hate about the tapes.
Yeah, you don't. Sometimes you don't get it.
I'm from the old school. I like to be in the room. I like to do. You know what I mean? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it has its own limitations for sure. But they were the ones who insisted on bringing him back anyway, and they were right, because when we got to do that part of the process, the callback, that was when it clicked for me that this was our person, and it was just undeniable. And then, like you said before, like he had to do this double duty of being able to also pull off the inner Cameron part of it. And talk about a challenging audition process. I mean, he would get sides that were like, you're reading both parts. Like, see you tomorrow, So it was remarkable what he was able to pull off.
Oh, it's just amazing. It's funny because there are one thing that happens sometimes when I watch TV shows and films with a bunch of dialogue. There are times where I'm wondering how many times somebody said line or something. This feels like actors were so prepared to be, am I wrong? Am I right? I'm sure somebody did at some point. But...
No, you're absolutely right. And this was Miles' first time being number one on the call sheet.
Okay, interesting.
He could not have been a more impeccable leader of this cast. Yeah. And he's your dream number one. Right. He shows up prepared, and everybody else knows that they better be too. And he's kind, and he is gracious and patient. And so that is the kind of mentality and attitude that he set for the rest of the cast on set. And they were listen, we shot, because of the strikes, over 2 consecutive summers in New Orleans. So these were not easy conditions, and they're wearing all this equipment. But if your number one is not complaining, you better not be complaining. So that's incredible.
Here's something interesting that I noticed. When I later learned that you guys shot it over 2 summers because of the strike, I did notice a shift, even in Miles. And it worked perfectly. Watch this. Shut up, kids. It worked perfectly because it gave him a chance to put on some weight. Yeah. He came back kind of swole. I was like, what the? He must have put on 12 pounds. Like, bam, he looked amazing.
You see if the physical transmission.
He's this little scrawny little dude. All of a sudden, chest is up. Yeah. And you did that like scene with him, like with his shirt off. I was like, what the? Yeah. I was like, something shifted.
And it also gave, in the other direction, time for John Bowman to actually lose the weight.
Oh, yes.
For later in the season.
He looked amazing too.
Yeah. So in both cases, that transformation was really, really powerful. Right. Part of that is like the physicality of boot camp is real. Like that you are changing physically as well as mentally.
My my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, I told you, was a Ranger. He was in the Navy first, and then he went. He was like one of the 40-something years old when he joined. He was like the only one who made it through at that age or whatever, just like hardcore. And he used to tell us stories of the things they did. And I remember when he was in Afghanistan, he came back just so ripped and lean. And I'm like, what are y'all doing over there? He's like, we just work out all day. I'm like, and we eat and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy crap. And of course, years later, he just grew into this guy. But he was like, swole. Okay, let's talk about some of the other casting. So what I love about the show, and shout out to Junie Lowry and Junie Lowry Johnson, is that what it was? And the other casting director, forgive me.
Libby Goldstein.
Libby. Yeah. Shout out to them and for you guys for saying that person, right? This is the ultimate diverse cast. People are like, oh, it's diverse. It's like one person of color or anything. And no, bitch, that ain't diverse, right? This is the diverse cast in every other person, like it's clear. Was that always the plan? Because that is how it looks. You know what I mean? And they have strong roles. Like even the main D, I'm forgetting the black guy.
Yeah, McKinnon. Yeah. What a powerful actor. Cedric Cooper, who, by the way, you would never know it because his performance is so commanding and dominating, but Cedric is like a gentle
Yeah.
soul. He is just the
That's right.
most spiritual. He'll go meditate with you. Like he is sort of the opposite of McKinnon,
Interesting.
but he pulls that off in such a
Well,
powerful
so is
way.
Max too, right? He's very different.
Right?
He's
Yes.
funnier,
Very. Yes.
temporarily.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
That's funny. But I appreciate that. I just want you to know, as a Black gay man myself, I appreciated that you guys went there, you know, and I'm not sure what happens in season 2. Okay, Netflix, season 2, y'all tripping. What happens with him and with Cameron and the Black guy, that there's
Nash.
tension going on there, but we never quite go, which I'm fine with, because there's curiosity, you know what I mean, and what could happen and where would they go and whatever, you know what I mean, so I know.
Well, there was always the intention that the show should reflect what the military looks like, and that people come from all over and have all different kinds of backgrounds. We wanted to make sure that we were depicting faithfully like the true diversity of the Marine Corps and the U.S. military, and not just even ethnicities, but in terms of like, what is your life experience? Where are you coming from? Why are you doing this?
Right.
What is your motivation for being here? And being able to unpack that for each of these guys, I think was the really interesting part. One
of my favorite moments is the Ocho. Am I saying it right? Ocho?
Oh, Ochoa?
That's what I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of my. He was an interesting character where he ended up going, and you know, we know what happened to him in the end. The whole Full Metal Jacket thing, which you totally brought back, but actually even a completely different way. Like his was heightened, or in the Full Metal Jacket, he was very just like in this, you know, trance, if you will. And I just loved how you guys utilized that, and the fact that those things really can happen. It can take you to the place where you either go crazy in Full Metal Jacket, or you have a heart issue and something happens there. Try not to give it away for people, you know what I'm saying?
It was important for us to I think this is actually speaks to the interesting or tricky tone of the show. I pitched back to the pitch. I pitched the show as Full Metal Jacket as told by David Sedaris. So right there is a tension that's built into this experience, right? Like we're going into this hostile place, but we're going to do it, you know, we're going to shift the focus just a little bit. It's going to be a little off center of what you've seen before, what you think you've seen in other military experiences. And at the same time, it can't just be like good times at boot camp. Like we have to show how harrowing this place could be, what the real stakes are. So you have to be able to have a tone that is sort of elastic enough that will keep it coherent and make sure it never feels like the show is becoming, all of a sudden it became something else, but contains the diversity of experience. I wanted people to go on this emotional roller coaster, and the kinds of stuff I like to consume as a viewer are when I'm laughing and then all of a sudden, you know, you get punched in the face and you're brought up short. I've been thinking about this recently because one reference for the show has been MASH, and I grew up. My parents loved MASH, and so one of the things.
It's my father's favorite show.
Yeah. So I grew up on reruns of MASH, and I think even as a kid, albeit a very sensitive little closeted gay boy. So I was very sensitive to changes in emotional barometric pressure. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I would watch a show like MASH and be stunned at, you know, you have this campy, sometimes even slapstick humor, and then you would hear the sounds of the blades of the helicopters and the bodies would come. And that shift I found so powerful. It felt real to me. It didn't feel stylized. It felt like this is what life feels like in these kinds of extreme situations. And I wanted that to be present in this show as well, that you could have poop jokes. This is boot camp after all. And also
a lot of immature kids in there.
They're 18.
Right.
and also you could experience real tragedy.
Right.
Yeah.
The relationship between the brothers, I find fascinating. I loved the flashback where this is what I'm telling you. This is why you execute so well. where you know everybody's got a secret of what is going on with them. Like you wondering, like, what is good? These are brothers. Like, what is their? Why does the really buff brother hate the overweight brother or whatever? And you come to learn why, and you see the difference between them. But the arc that forgive me, I don't remember the characters' names. I apologize.
John and Cody are the brothers. Yeah.
But you come to learn. He to me has just as strong of arc as Cameron does. You know what I mean? By what he overcomes and where he goes, it's so strong. You know?
Thank you.
I mean, everybody has an arc. It seems like to me. You know?
It was important to make sure that everybody could find a way into this show. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So even if you're not gay and you think, this isn't going to be for me, there's somebody in this show who's going to lure you in, and then you're going to stick around for everybody because you're going to get invested in everybody. Right. But it is, I think, important, and that's one of the advantages, I think, of doing an ensemble show is that you have the opportunity to try to appeal or reach potentially a broader audience because you're inviting people to identify with somebody here. And then they're going to find, as our characters do, that they actually identify with everybody. Yeah. That there is something that they can see in the rest of them.
We were talking earlier about the Ray's character where, you know, you have the straight friend who the gay friend is not attracted to. They're best friends because they're best friends. I actually love even the arc that he has in the end where the father finally comes around. And it's just such a subtle moment on his face where he was like, oh, I could have done this all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's like a nice realization that he has where he feels, you know, he's going to be okay. Yeah. You know, he was already okay by then to me, but that solidified it. He still was nervous about his father seeing that he didn't get the blue, you know, suit or whatever they call it. And now he sees the father was like, no, but you made it.
And you know what's so great about that is that, I appreciate you noting that moment, he gets that reward from his father after he has already given it to himself.
That's true. That's
true. You know, he's decided for himself, I don't need that. Right. I'm okay without that. Right. And then he gets the reward. Right. Yeah.
And I think we're so behind him because, you know, Cameron sees Sullivan go off into the woods and he goes after him, and then he chases after them too, and he's like, you're risking it all. Yeah. He was willing to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the audience is like so on his side even when he gets demoted. You know what I mean? It's just brilliant.
And continuing that loyalty and that friendship. And their friendship goes through its paces, right? And they have to.
Oh yeah, it's rocky.
Anytime a power dynamic is renegotiated, it gets rocky, right? But where they end up at the end, which this love is sustained, is still enduring, and even is at a more mature place. But I think by the end of the season is significant.
The actors were put through a boot camp. Were they in like a boot camp, like official? The reason I ask is they feel like they were put through 3 weeks.
Yeah, we had a couple weeks of intensive training for them with our DIs.
Or did they?
We didn't do that. It was more sort of the so we never like locked them in a barracks for 2 weeks, and you know, they still had good catering. You know,
they still go to the trailer.
They still, but we really did put them through their paces in terms of the physicality of it. Okay. So much of it is like learning how to stand, learning how to move your body, learning how to stand at attention for hours on end.
It's the little things.
The postures.
It's even sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It's even when Cameron was at the end and he had his hand like this and he was holding the thing. It was beautiful. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just like it was the details.
But unnatural, right? It's like that's a very, it's an elegant pose, but one that your body doesn't naturally assume. And so you have to teach your body how to do all these things. So it was that was where our military advisors were invaluable.
How did you work with them without them getting in the way of what you thought worked? Were you always they're right, so I just go?
No.
Or did they find a middle ground?
We had a really great, like honest, frank working relationship where, again, I invited them and I asked them. We went page by page through every script to say, tell me when we're getting it wrong. Right. And they would call out things. And sometimes I would say, we're changing that. We're changing that to the way it would be done. And sometimes I would say, I understand what you're saying, but for the sake of the story, we have to adjust it a little bit this way.
Because you know where you're going.
Or how can I meet you halfway? I can't do what you're saying because that
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense for the story, but
Right.
I could adjust it a little bit this way.
Right.
And that was the process that we went through. So we had a very rigorous sort of vetting of every script in terms of this. And sometimes the other complicating factor, what I found out was everybody's marine experience is different. Depending on where you went, when you went through it. So sometimes it was
Because
like
the weather could be different. Like you guys are shot in with Louisiana or something. Somebody
Sure.
else might be in, where it's cold.
Sure. Well, so there's the Paris Island and there's San Diego. Those are the two training depots. But it's like sometimes it would be two Marines, three opinions. You know what I mean in terms of like how things went. So in that case, you have to just you have to make a decision about what's best for the story.
That makes sense. Interesting. Let me just ask you about the writer's room. How many writers did you guys have in there? I know was it Jennifer?
So Jennifer joined us after the strikes.
Okay.
And she came on.
So you had already started the room before?
Yes. So we had written everything and gotten into production.
Oh, okay.
And then the strikes shut us down. And when we came back after the strikes, Jennifer, my co-showrunner, joined us to help us get it back up and running.
Okay. Did you guys have to rework the scripts at all?
We did have to rework some scripts because we went from a 10-episode order to an 8-episode order, which happened to a lot of shows. And so it was having her expertise. She's a seasoned TV showrunner, making sure that we were getting back up and running in a really speedy, efficacious way was really helpful. So her help was invaluable, and we were really good partners on this. And the job of show running is so hard, as I learned, that it really is a job for multiple people. So I was so happy to have her her support and help through the rest of shooting. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Where do you like to spend your time when you're on the set? Like, are you very involved? Are you, excuse me, are you running around the set, excuse me, checking on things? Losing my voice, sorry. Are you the type of guy who's like, I have to be by Video Village to make sure that we're executing whatever? Are you in the director's ear? Like, how do you like to work with your team?
I'm trying to be less of the showrunner who's in the director's ear, although I occasionally was that.
It's
showrunner.
hard in the especially first season.
First season and first time show running.
A lot at stake.
So I and very invested in this material.
Sure.
I think I just knew exactly the tone. I knew exactly what I wanted this to feel like. So it was very important that I felt like, so our tone meetings were 4 hours long. Do you know what I mean? Like we were very rigorous about saying this is what we're gonna do. But then I think part of the education in show running is like learning that you have to delegate, you have to give up, you have to cede some territory and some responsibility to other people, and trust that you've hired the right people, trust that they've listened to what you've been saying and what's important to you. And so yeah, I think should we be so lucky to get a season 2, I think that'll be a lesson I'll take into season 2.
Were you able to hire any other LGBTQIA? I don't have all the numbers. In any other heads of departments and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, we had a lot of diversity in our different departments. We also my friend Silas Howard directed episodes 4 and 5 and did a beautiful job. And I was particularly interested in having his perspective as a trans man on this show about masculinity, and that's a topic and an issue that he's so fascinated by, and bringing his perspective to that was so enriching. I think those are incredibly strong episodes, and so that was, it was really important that we continue to make sure that we had as many perspectives in this as possible.
So the question I'm getting, I know you guys have worked this out. Where does it go season 2? You can't say what happens in season 2, but you guys have season 2 planned, I'm assuming, right? Netflix. He's like, they already picked us up. I just can't tell you.
No.
I would love
I wish I had news to break, but I don't.
Okay, because there is some. It's not a Hollywood ending, but it does end like you could be okay if it was just one season. You could be.
Okay.
You could be.
Yeah.
But you want more. the fans of the show definitely want more.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And I think the show still has more to say. I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
because so much of the show is through Cameron's perspective. We're learning about the world, about life, about the military through Cameron's eyes. And again, back to what I was saying at the top of this conversation, where we leave Cameron is in this state of he's made a bargain, right? And he's got something, but he's given something. And now that he's earned his Marinehood, what does it mean now that you have to go be a Marine, and not just in peacetime but in wartime? What does that What does that do?
right.
And how is
That's a good setup too.
how is the bargain that you've made going to play out
Right.
in that context?
Right.
So I there's a lot. The Cameron's education is not complete. There's a lot more that we need to see.
Let me ask you a question, because I don't know how this works at all. So you've worked with this squadron, this platoon, whatever they call it. You guys are deployed.
Mm.
Are you deployed with those guys, or is it just some random? Are you with the group of guys that you?
Oh,
boot
I see.
camp with?
In season 2.
No,
Is
I
that what
mean
you're talking
in
about?
general.
Oh.
Do you know?
Oh yeah. So realistically, after you graduate boot camp, you're sent to all kinds of different, like
Okay.
basically training schools for your specialty.
Ah,
So you get
I
assigned a
see.
job
I see.
in the Marine Corps, and then you have to go train for that.
So you might be a
Um,
rifleman or whatever.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's not like everybody in your platoon, you just stay together for the rest of your Marine Corps career. You're realistically, you're scattered.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm like,
So
really
it's-
curious where you're gonna go
Season
season
2
two.
is a very interesting challenge, because the challenge for us as writers is that we have to deliver the exact same show and a totally different show.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds great.
Mhm.
Like that sounds like a really
That's the
fun
fun part.
challenge. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Now, dude, we love the show.
Oh, thank you.
Support the show. Support you and the team.
Thank you.
And thank you for hanging out with us today.
This is so great.
It's dope.
Really an honor. Thank you.
I mean it. I mean, it's definitely my favorite show right now.
That's awesome. Thank
And
you.
I just started watching another show, and I'm like, no, it's not quite Boots. And I'm on season 2, but like, no, it's not Boots. So
Thank
Netflix. I'm losing my voice today. Excuse me. Netflix season 2. I'm telling you guys, it's gonna be a hit. It's gonna go to number 1. Season 2 for sure.
From your lips. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy Parker.
Thank you, sir.
Where can people follow you? Where are you at on social media?
I'm not on any social media, but
How
you
you
can
gonna
watch
support the
Boots.
show?
You can watch Boots. That's how you can support the show.
Me and your rep gonna talk when we're done. Awesome, man. Thank you again.
Thank you
man.
so
I
much.
appreciate you for
Appreciate
sure.
it.
And I'm your host, Hilliard Guess. You guys can find me on everywhere at Hilliard Guess. Follow us, subscribe to the show, and thank you guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Third and Fairfax. You can listen and subscribe to Third and Fairfax on Spotify, Apple, and Libsyn, and watch us on the Writers Guild of America West's YouTube channel. Also check out writtenby.com, the Guild's online publication, for more on writer craft, career, and union life. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.